So this section is called Expo2Rue because when I started, I actually, and that's a true story, find a camera in the subway. I was waiting for a friend who was coming from the suburbs on the train line, and he was late. So I sat on the track and I just kept waiting for him, and one train, another train, another train. And at some point I look on my left and there was a long bench and there was a bag there. And after a couple more trains, that bag was still there. And I went and looked, and inside was this, shitty camera with, you couldn't change the lens or anything. You had to put films inside and 2 little battery. And, I remember I was like trying to see if there was any sign from anyone. There was nothing. So I kept it. But I didn't use it right away. At that time, all my focus was on doing graffiti, like trying to put my little initials, JR, on some rooftop, on some tunnels. It was really about the adventure of exploring a city, Paris, that I didn't know because I grew up in the projects around Paris. I was lucky to know and meet people that were much better than me at doing graffiti. And so one day I decided to grab the camera that I found to document those scenes, going in the subway and like living those adventures. It was hard to explain the feeling, so I decided to document it, what it felt for someone to write his name in the middle of the tunnel while trains are still passing, where people are waiting on the tracks for their train. And I remember the first film was actually a 12 pose, so I had only 12 shots. And I knew nothing about photography. I just realized that was a strong flash. I could light the whole tunnel, but also that I really needed to sync every frame. And a lot of the photos you're seeing here are actually from those 12 first frames. So then, at that time, I was lucky enough that when I quit school, when I was 15, and went back to school a year later, I changed school and they had a photo lab. And in that photo lab, I started printing those photos and learning how to print and learning about photography and, just a bit. It was just like, there was no course. It was just like an option and you could go there after class. And then I would photocopy those photos so I could give them to my friends because that was really cheap and easy to do. We always knew someone that worked in an office and could give us 10 photocopies for free. And so I started just placing them in the street, just replacing those advertising that we do for magazine cover behind magnet glass, and I would just take off the glass, put my photo behind and change it. And then slowly I started doing that in the train also, where there's the map with all the train lines. I would replace it by my photos and it would be a perfect frame. And then I started seeing all those empty walls in the city or, scaffoldings with wooden, structure in front, and I started pasting them with glue. But my photos were really small, so you wouldn't really notice them. They're black and white, so they're really different from advertising, but yet you would not really notice them. Sometimes I would put 4 next to each other to make a bigger one, but that's as big as I could go at that time. So I used what I knew best, which is spray can, and I would frame them in red and then link every photo and write Sidewalk Gallery, which is Expo2Rue in French. And that was my exhibition. And they could come and try to clean and scratch my photos. The frame would still be there. And I would come back the next day, the next week, and paste them again. Sometimes I was walking through Paris, in the daytime, and I didn't have any prints on me to paste, but I had my spray can. So I would get the wall by just writing, "Here soon will be a sidewalk gallery." I was almost warning them, the police, that I was about to do it. And at that time, I had learned how to blend this in the city because I was following writers that were really smart. And to be smart means like there was people who don't drink, people who don't walk in groups, people who are really careful how they dress to really blend in the city. They carry in a little plastic bag their spray can, so you would not notice them. People think that writers goes at night at 3 a.m, only to tag and spray can, but actually a lot of them walk in full daylight. And that's what I've learned. And all the series you see here are my first photos. Some are taken from my own window in my neighborhood. Some are taken in the tunnels, on the rooftops. Those were my first adventures discovering the city and then pasting them all over Paris.